Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. We're going to take a look at the story from the Daily Mail about the referendum and the voice vote. Marsha Langdon, a key architect of the Voice to Parliament, details a plan to compensate Aboriginal people and return stolen land. This is what they're chasing with the voice. They don't want to have a voice or anything like that they're pretending it to be. They want money, they want land back, and this is their way to do it. The government will have a thumb firmly pressed on the back of our head, and we will be a minority in our own country. Now, I'm actually looking at benefiting from the voice going through because I'm technically Aboriginal. My dad's Aboriginal, so I identify as Aboriginal. I know I don't look it, but that's the way it cookie crumbles here in Australia. This is what the government has decided will be a voice for all of the people of Australia, all the Indigenous people like me and like Thomas Mayo and things like that. We're all going to be spoken for with this voice of Parliament that we do not vote in. We don't get to pick and choose who goes on it. Someone else does. We don't get to vote for it. So it's very undemocratic of them. A key architect of the Indigenous Voice of Parliament thinks Australia is obligated to return stolen cultural land and compensate First Nations people. Kind of like how they've already been given massive amounts of land in this country. And Ayers Rock's just gone back to them. The Cape of Queensland's gone back to them. And now Fraser Island, I believe, as well. Marsha Langdon has republished her Welcome to the Country handbook with the new details pertaining to the upcoming referendum. The academic said no vote would doom Aboriginal Australians to a permanent status as marginalised peoples and cited a growing impatience over the delays in righting and fundamental justice. Prominent anthropologist and geographer in the latest in the string of government advisors on the yes side of the referendum who have publicly discussed compensation of the land being returned to traditional owners after Thomas Mayo and Teela Reid made similar representations. Our predicament is known for the world over, and such countries have there been reckoning in the colonial past, she said. Reparations of stolen cultural heritage, development and aid programs, compensation, and other measures are part of the global human rights response to a legacy of imperialism and colonialism. That is what they want to do. They want you to pay for the sins of your ancestors. Pretending that Australia has no such obligations is a head-in-the-sand approach, politically immature and distinctively unhelpful in overcoming the problems that we have inherited. Professor Langdon continued, the impoverishment of former colonies with the centuries of extrication of human labour and the local resources all taken is now recognised as mass larceny. She recently noted that the referendum were to fail, many non-Indigenous Australians would not be able to look her in the eye as a result of her shame. She will not speak at conferences. She can't imagine there will be too many of her peers who would be willing to perform Welcome to the Country ceremonies. Oh no, what a shame. 2 years after her latest publishing, Welcome to the Country handbook, Professor Langdon released a new edition of Hardy Grant, edited with the new up-to-date details that progress the push to referendum. She said she is counting on her fellow Australians to vote yes, vowing that doing so will end the blame game and political theatre of white guilt. There is no white guilt here in Australia with anyone. Australians were dragged here, or they were English, they were dragged here in balls and chains on terrible prisoner ships and then thrown on the bloody mainland and told to survive and eke out a living. They didn't want to come here. No one wanted to come here. They were forced to come here as slaves and prisoners, and then you're trying to make them feel guilty for what white people did to Aboriginals is insane. We all had to eat a shit sandwich when we got here. And Aboriginals weren't guilt-free. They started wars. They had wars with each other constantly. There weren't some beautiful, alien race of things that never hurt anyone or never did anything wrong, like a lot of Native Americans pretend that they are. They are massive warring tribes. They killed the white people killed them. It was the way colonization has worked since dawn of time? I don't know. Aboriginals colonized Australia from pygmies, didn't they? Where's their reparations? I know a few short black people we can go and give some money to, if that'll make them feel better. The First Peoples of Australia have a genuine right and to take responsibility for our own futures by advising Parliament and the government on the best ways forward, she said. Professor Langdon hoped her book would help to deepen the public's understanding of the past to overcome the colonial burden. See, she's just sitting here spruiking her book trying to make more money off this race baiting. If the referendum fails, the readers of this book will inherit an unfinished business, she said. Should this happen, it will have dire consequences, not for my people, but for the nation. What? Like what? We're just going to go around start locking up Aboriginal people now? It's not COVID. We can't do that unless it's COVID and they need to get the jab, and then we'll round them up and lock them up, remember? If the referendum fails, Professor Langdon quoted Mr. Mayo, the fellow member of the referendum working group. She said the view among most Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is well expressed by Delegate Thomas Mayo. See, that's where they're wrong. Again, they've been wrong the whole time. Thomas Mayo does not speak for every single Aboriginal person in the country. He doesn't speak for every single Torres Strait Islander person in the country. I should know because I'm Aboriginal. He doesn't speak for me. He doesn't speak for the other thousands of Aboriginal tribes in Australia. He doesn't speak for every single mob in this country. I doubt he's even Aboriginal. He looks Filipino, for God's sakes. I mean, I don't look like an Aboriginal, but, whatever. Over the years, Mr. Mayo has made controversial comments regarding reparations, rent, and land rights. He wants you to pay rent for the land you're living on. So if you go buy a house or you buy a property, you're already paying council rates, you're already paying land, anything to do with land, you're paying government, you're paying tax on just about every single thing we do. We are going to be paying another Aboriginal land rights or reparations or whatever they want to name it. They'll name it something like something nice, like this is the tax for kittens and koalas or something like that, to make it sound lovely. So you go, oh, that's lovely, I'm paying that tax to help them. But no, you're paying it because for people like him, people like Thomas Mayo will be pocketing every single cent of it. The amount of money that goes to Aboriginal communities in this country already. If you've ever been to Nullarbor or Arnhem Land or Gove, somewhere like that, where it's where I worked, if you've been there, you see the Aboriginal community there gets millions and millions and millions of dollars paid to them by Rio Tinto. That all goes to one man. He does not give that out to every single Aboriginal person in his community. He's just as greedy as every single white person, as every other person. We're all human. It doesn't matter the colour of your skin or where you were born. We're all human. He doesn't give it out. If he's not going to give it out, what do you think Thomas Mayo is going to do with it? If we we're not even electing them. If we vote yes on this referendum and they elect themselves, it'll be Thomas Mayo and people like this woman here, whatever her friggin' name is, they are going to be sitting on the board and they are going to be the ones dictating what we do in this country. You will not be able to do a thing unless you pay these people money to do it. We're already seeing it happen in WA where they had a tree planting and revegetation program. It was a $9-10 million program. It was stopped dead in its tracks because a local Aboriginal corporation wanted $2.5 million from them to plant trees. $2.5 million. That's a bribe. That's stealing money from them. They shut down the program. They held off. They couldn't do it because they were facing a $2.5 million fine or bribe from this Aboriginal corporation. They didn't know what to do. They've since fired the man who wanted that $2.5 million, rightfully so, because it jeopardized people voting yes. He says, oh, wait a minute. Why are they demanding $2.5 million? We're planting trees, for Christ's sakes. This is what they are going to do. If you want to dig a hole, just like in WA, if you disturb more than 50 centimetres of earth, you have to get an Aboriginal representative from the local tribe, a local mob, to come out, and they're going to charge you minimum $160 an hour to get a permit to do anything on your own property. Do you think massive companies and like Rio Tinto or the government or other things like that will be paying that money? No. That'll be for you and me. That'll be for us. That'll be for people who put in a fence post, put in a mailbox, put in a fruit tree or something like that in your backyard, dig a vegetable garden, you name it, whatever it is. And people don't understand. They think that's hyperbolic. It is not. They're already doing that in Western Australia. It is already signed off on. We are doing that now. It is already happening without the voice. If the voice goes through, that will explode exponentially. You will not be able to leave your home. You will not be able to buy a home unless you pay rent to the Aboriginal mob that apparently owns the land or is culturally heritage land there. You will not be allowed to do anything. They're just going to tax the absolute shit out of us anyway. But now you are going to have to pay a land rights tax or reparations to people that haven't had anything bad done to them. You certainly didn't do anything to them. The First Peoples of Australia have a genuine right to take responsibility for our own futures by advising Parliament and the government of the best ways forward, he said. Professor Langdon hoped her book would help deepen the public's understanding of the past to help them overcome colonial burden. If the referendum fails, the reader of this book will inherit an unfinished business, she said. Should this happen, it will have dire consequences, not for my people, but for the nation. Professor Langdon quoted Mr. Mayo, a fellow member of the referendum working group. She said, the view among most Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is well expressed by Delegate Thomas Mayo. No, it is not. You do not speak for us. You do not speak for anyone but yourself. A series of tweets dating back to 2018 revealed that he sought an eventual treaty that would see land handed back to the First Nations people. The vision of the Voice Department appears to directly contradict Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's hope for the modest concession to assist the nation's most vulnerable. He listed all the things we imagined we demand the Voice, including reparations, land back, abolishing harmful colonial institutions. What is a harmful colonial institution? I'd like to know. Mr. Mayo said a guaranteed represented body was needed to properly pursue the rent that is owed and an abolishment of systems that harm us. Pursue the rent that is owed. A constitutionally enshrined voice is important to establish the use of the truth in support treaty negotiations. Mr. Mayo has since told Daily Mail Australia he is now of the understanding a voice will focus on practical issues that matter to Indigenous communities, such as better employment outcomes and housing. Better employment outcomes and housing. What's that mean? They don't even tell you what any of this means. They just say something and they go, "Oh, it's just vote for it, because if you vote for it, you're not racist. You know, don't be racist. You got to vote for it." Tila Reid, a lawyer, Wiradjuri woman and public speaker, also once described a proposal to change the constitution as a journey with all Australians to demolish the systems that continue to oppress us. Mr. Reid, who sits on the government's Voice to Parliament referendum engagement group, says she is not radical or despite her views. Ms. Reid said she is concerned by the conservatism of her profession and urged lawyers across Australia to support the Voice with a wide-ranging interview on YouTube. We also call for strong activism, and she likened the push for communism in the 1970s. Well, there you have it. She wants communism. Obviously, you have no fucking brain between your head and you haven't read a history book if you want communism. You're a lawyer. You should know better. Communism is not a good idea. A newly unearthed tweet in 2019, Ms. Reid said the Aboriginal people will build the nation. It is now time for you to pay rent. In January this year, Ms. Reid demanded every Aboriginal elder in New South Wales should be living rent-free. She said such an action was their bare minimum this state has to offer given the displacement and depossession. They want to take your homes and your land from you with the Voice to Parliament. They will take what is yours and give it to Aboriginal people. And those Aboriginal people look like you and me. I'm Aboriginal, my dad's Aboriginal, I'm half caste. Does that mean they're going to give me land? Does that mean are they going to take my land because I'm white and give it to an Aboriginal elder? They're going to take from you and give it to other people. That is cause for bloody war in the streets. If you've worked your entire life to build up what you have, you buy a home, you buy a car, you go and work every day, you grind every day to support your family and to build a life for yourself. For the government to just come in and take it from you and give it to someone else, that is fascism, that is communism. This is what these people want. She wants communism in Australia, race-based communism by the sounds of it. This is why they don't tell us anything about the Voice. They just say, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll sort it out after we voted in." Do not vote yes to the Voice. You do not know what it is. We don't even know what it is. They won't tell us. We've got to read between the lines. This is what these people have said. They want you to pay land rights. They want you to pay rent. They want you to pay reparations. That's what it is. These people are after your shit. How can anyone want to vote yes? I don't know. And we're going to take a look at the story from 9 News today. The tax on alcohol is going through the roof. We are going to be paying over $100 a litre, and this needs to stop. Otherwise, what are we going to do to drown our sorrows about living in this piss poor country of ours? Now, spirit manufacturers plead for government help ahead of the next alcohol taxes. Story here from 9 News. Spirit manufacturers and distillers are pleading with the government to step in and help the country's tax on spirits, set to tip over $100 per litre in the coming weeks. The alcohol producers are calling for a freeze on the regular biannual increases of the spirit before the price peaks at a $100 milestone, which it has not been expected to hit before 2029. So we're way ahead of that. We are going to be screwed. We are not going to be able to afford to buy alcohol. This nanny state that we're living in has got to pull back on the reins. We need to think about the people we vote into power. It goes on to say here that Bundaberg rum, a bottle of Bundaberg rum, pays $60 per bottle in tax. So that's $60 out of your pocket that's already been taxed that you have to then give to the government again. It's insane how much these alcohol prices are in Australia. I mean, you go overseas, anywhere overseas, you can see just how much cheaper it is over there. They use this and pretend that it's going to save lives and stop people drinking so much, which is not the case. I mean, if you buy a carton of beer a week or a bottle of wine or whatever it is, you're not going to drink twice the amount if it's half the price. You're just going to save that money. I mean, you're not going to go and start drinking 2 cartons a week unless you're a massive alcoholic anyway. But even then, they spend their majority of their check on alcohol anyway. I know a guy that I've worked with who spends upwards of $700 a week. That's a whole paycheck on alcohol. He used to. I don't know if he does now, but the amount of money people spend on alcohol in this country is absurd, and you don't even have to be an alcoholic to spend that much. The excise tax on spirits increases every 6 months in line with the CPI. The next hike is due to occur in August after a record of 4.1% jump in the last year and the 3.7% increase in February. It is expected the coming increase will bring the tax over to $100 a litre, with it currently sitting at $97.90. And more than 60% of the cost of a bottle of Bundaberg rum, there it is, goes to tax, according to the Angus McPherson, the managing director of Diageo Australia, the company behind Queensland's Bundaberg rum distillery. McPherson has said that the tax regime is becoming unbearable. Like all businesses across the country have copped a lot in the recent price hikes, from increased power costs to raw material costs and freight costs. Inflation is a major challenge across the economy, and we're not immune to it, but in the way we are taxed makes it even harder, he said. Australian Distillers Association Chief Executive Paul McCleary has said that it's crucial to the government step in to support Australian distillers and the spirits manufacturers to maintain the local industry. If we kill off our local alcohol industry in Australia, which is we're on the path to do that, you will not have any sort of local job. The Bundaberg rum factory employs a lot of people. The 4X Brewing Company in Brisbane, I believe, employs a massive amount of people. Any local distillers, like on the Sunshine Coast, there's I think it's 10 Toes down near down near the Gold Coast. There's a whole bunch down there. They're great distillers, and they make craft beers and things like that. Gin distilleries, rum. There's a gin distillery in Perth that was fantastic. We went to Swan Valley. Went to go see. Wineries, they will have to pay the same amount of tax as well. It's going to kill a massive amount of business in Australia if there's no point them selling it here. Or even making it. We can't afford to pay more than 60% in tax on that item. It's insane. Not to mention, we pay tax with our wages, we pay tax with GST, we pay tax with everything we do. I think it's 47 cents or 67 cents a litre of petrol we pay tax on. Then you're going and taxing alcohol as well, which is absurd, the amount of tax that they're taking out of it. It's not helping anyone. It's not curing people with, it's not stopping people from being alcoholics. It's just making sure that they pay more. Australia's first major currency was rum in Australia. They used to sell it, barter it, and trade it between each other. Rum was like one of the first things that people used. It just looks like the government's got their hand out trying to get money out of us every which way they can. And after everyone's last tax bill that everyone's probably got, I don't know about you, I actually got some money back on my tax, which is amazing because I've got a lot of deductions. But if you've paid a bill, which I know a lot of people have paid a bill in their tax this year because they got rid of that $1,500 low income earning payment, they're just going to hit us again with more and more. How much tax are you willing to pay to live in this country? We're getting to the point where we are getting taxed through the arsehole. We're getting, I think, probably 80 cents to the dollar is taxed here in Australia now. If you break it down, like I think even 30 cents, there's 30 cents of every single dollar goes to Woolworths or Coles in Australia. And it's about 80 cents that we lose out on to tax. It's too much. We can't sustain this, and we're not getting anything for it. You're still having massive wait times for emergency services. You're still having massive wait times for any medical treatment. If you go to an emergency room, I saw a story the other day that the people were waiting 18 hours in an emergency room. In Sydney, I believe it was. How is that happening here in Australia when we're taxed as massively as we are? It's insane. If they're going to charge us the amount of tax that they are, then our roads should be perfect. We should have a massive military. We should be able to walk into a hospital and walk out within under an hour. We should have absolutely free healthcare. No, we're paying more and more every time we go to the doctor. The government should be able to pay for everything that they're taking all the money off of us. But no, they give it to outreach programs. They're sending another $110 million over to Ukraine that we do not need to send. We're prolonging a war and edging us closer towards World War III with our taxpayer money. They waste every single cent they get. It's about time they are held liable. I don't care whether you have to march on Parliament, whether we have to vote someone else in next time. I think we just need to do away with every single person in politics in this country. Every single one. I don't even the ones you like whether it's Pauline Hanson from One Nation is about the only one I like. And even then, get rid of every single one of them. Every single one, and start new. Because these people have ruined this country. They're ruining this country. They're killing small businesses. They're killing any sort of fun that we can have. You can't even go and have a beer now. I think a beer's like $8, $9 for a schooner in this country. This is barbaric. I can't believe how much people are willing to put up with from this government screwing us around and taxing us through the arse. When is it going to come to an end? When are people going to stand up and say, no, this is too much. This is way too far. You're killing a major industry in this country until the point where it's going to be shipped overseas and we won't have any of that industry in the country. What is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back in this case? I don't know. But maybe people having to pay $100 a litre for alcohol, that might do it, because I don't know about you, but anyone who wants a beer and they're going to be paying $12 a beer, $15 a beer, or $100 a litre of alcohol, it's going to piss a few people off. Victoria banning gas stoves from 2024. Now, if you're going to build a new home in Victoria by 2024, you will not be able to implement gas appliances in your home. We saw this coming with Daniel Andrews being a massive shill for the WEF and them forever marching forward their green and pro-green initiatives with zero emissions. Now, if you live in Victoria and you voted for Daniel Andrews, you have no one to blame but yourself. You are now going backwards as a country, as a state, as a society. You are actually harming yourselves by voting for that man. Now, if he continues to hold the reins of power, it's probably a bit too late for this to be changed now, because once it's been implemented, even whether he's there or not, it will still be put in place. Now, Australia only emits, I think, 1.3% of greenhouse CO2 emissions in the world, and we seem to be one of the major countries doing anything about CO2 emissions. China has a massive stake in it. We'll have a look here, CO2 emissions by the country. Where is Australia here? All right, we'll have a look. Canada, US, Russia, Japan, Iran, South Korea, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Brazil. Australia's down here behind Turkey. So 386 it says there. This is where China is, just up there, 11,680. So the score given there on this is emissions by country in 2023. China is miles ahead of the US. It's more than double the US. And we are sitting all the way down here below Germany, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia. Indonesia puts out more than we do. Mexico, Turkey, and then us, Australia. We're just above Vietnam. That's insane that we have to be the country that's doing the most for climate change. I know we have a massive amount of resources here at home, including gas. We have a massive reserve of gas. I think we're like number 13 in the world for natural resources when it comes to natural gas. And we're banning the use of it here, but we will still export it to other countries like China. And then we actually end up buying it back off of countries like Japan and China and selling it again here. This is the insanity the government is putting forward, but we'll have a look at this story here from The Age. Energy experts are urging Victorians to take extra steps to accelerate the removal of gas heaters and cooktops from homes after the state announced a ban on gas connections to new homes. Switching 2 million homes in Victoria already connected to gas over to electricity will reduce the state's emission in the long term, but in the short term it will drive an increase in more homes that rely on the state's coal-fired power plants until renewable energy takes over. So that's stupid that you can't use gas, which is a massively cheaper option than coal-fired energy here in Australia, and they want you to use coal-fired energy over gas, and they're saying it's greener. It's stupid. If you were running off of solar, 100% solar, 100% renewable energy, I'd kind of see the argument they're making there, but even that hurts the environment. Energy Minister Lily D'Ambrosio, the Planning Minister Sonia Kilkenny, revealed on Friday that all new developments would be banned from connecting to gas from January the 1st. The changes apply to all home subdivisions and knockdown rebuilds that require planning permit from that date. Under the plan, the new dwellings will have fitted with electric or induction stove cooktops instead of gas appliances. Solar or electric hot water systems will also have to be used instead of gas. But the energy transmission experts say that the government will need programs to drive faster. Currently, even if the 270 dwellings were switched from gas to electricity every single day, it would take 20 years to remove all the gas connections in Victoria. Victoria is the biggest residential gas user in Australia, with homes typically using fossil fuel for cooking, heating, and other parts of the country. Gas is often only used for cooking because it's not cold anywhere else besides Victoria, pretty much, and Tasmania in Australia. Grattan Institute Climate Change of the Energy Program Director Tony Wood said that Friday announcement was just the first step. We've got 5 million households in Australia connected to gas, more than 2 million in Victoria. We've got to start now, he said. We need to provide the support programs. Plumbers and gas fitters have to be all on board with this. When you got gas hot water systems blows up, they replace it with an electric one. Professor of the Climate Change and Energy Policy, Australian National University, Frank Jotso, said it was absolutely necessary for Victoria to accelerate the phase out of gas and meet its emission reduction target. It is usually for the governments very difficult to mandate the phasing out of existing appliances, he said. It's easier to intervene of what sort of new appliances are allowed to be installed. So what's going to happen with the Australian gas barbecue? Are we going to get rid of gas barbecues as well? I know they've pretty much got rid of all LPG gas cars. You cannot, I know in my town, you cannot pretty much find gas to fill up a car anymore. They started phasing them out ages ago. We are going to be finding ourselves in a bit of a predicament. If the government wants to turn off your power, or even if it's just a blackout, say, because renewable energy can't keep up with the grid, can't keep up with all the new induction cooktops and Teslas getting charged, because it won't be able to accommodate those. So you're going to have blackouts. At least in a blackout, you can go and light the barbecue and cook yourself dinner. So we have gas where I am. We built our house. We designed it to have gas and a solar hot water with solar panels, because if the power goes out, which it does quite often where I live, we want to be able to cook food and, heat up some water and boil some water and make coffee or whatever you want to do. It's just one of the very basic things that you can do when you're designing your own home to cover yourself for those kind of emergencies. Now, you will not be able to do that if you lose power and you have an induction cooktop. You might have a barbecue, but they're looking at getting rid of them as well. What is their plan here? They want to be able to control the mass amount of people in Victoria here for now and it'll be spreading across the country. They want to be able to control people with the flick of a switch. They cannot turn off your gas bottle. They don't have the ability just to press a button and turn off your gas unless you're connected to a mains gas line. But generally, we have bottles here in Australia that are connected to homes. They can't do that. They can stop you from buying a bottle, but a bottle could last up to 12 months in some houses. I think we go through a bottle every 6 months or something like that here. They want to be able to turn off your power whenever they want, which they can already, and which they do. They want to be able to control people, where they cook, how they heat their homes, what kind of CO2 they emit from their homes is basically what they want to stop. They want to be able to control you with a push of a button. And getting rid of gas appliances and getting rid of gas cooktops or hot water systems, that is just another way of them doing it. If you're connected to the grid and the government thinks that you've emitted enough CO2 for the day, they can just turn off your supply. We're seeing it all over the world now. There's some places in the States where you can sign up to an energy saving program. They sell it to you as an energy saving program. It says it could save you up to a couple $100 a year on your power bill. What they don't tell you in that, and they leave it in the fine print, is that the reason that's going to save you money is because if you're using too much power at peak times, they will just shut your power off. That's going to save you money because you won't be able to run anything. You won't be able to run an air conditioner. You won't be able to charge your phone. You won't be able to go online and complain, because if they shut your power off, you've got no option but to sit there in the dark with your thumb up your ass. The Associate Professor Joe Hurley from RMIT's Centre of Urban Research said exiting gas appliances were a big challenge for the government's committing to net zero. But he said he couldn't see the Victorian government banning or existing gas connections anytime soon. Well, he was fucking wrong, wasn't he? You might see a move to more mechanisms to discourage replacement of existing gas appliances with new gas appliances. That'll be the next step, Hurley said. He said the additional incentives to help households make the switch to electric should occur, but those policies will be carefully calibrated to ensure taxpayer funds aren't feeding middle-class welfare. The Victorian government last year removed the requirement for new homes to be connected to gas. On Friday, D'Ambrosio said banning it entirely would help reduce Victoria's emissions and eventually provide cost-of-living relief, given gas prices skyrocketed over the past year. There was a looming winter shortfall on the eastern seaboard. Other states may have shied away from dealing with this challenge. We haven't, D'Ambrosio said. The ACT last month passed a bill banning new gas stove network connections. They're doing it already. You don't even get to vote on it. You don't get to pick whether you have gas in your home now. If they control the way that you heat and cook and live in your home, they have you by the balls. They will be able to turn off the petrol pump. If you charge if everyone's going to have a Tesla or an electric car, if you've used too much CO2 that day, if you've produced too much CO2 that week, they will just be able to shut you down. And not having gas is just another nail in that coffin. That is what they're after. They don't care about emissions. If they honestly cared about emissions, we'd be going and trying to stop China polluting the world as much as they do. Like, everyone agrees we should not pollute the ecosystem, we should not waste power, we should not poison the atmosphere, but we need to be able to do it in a way where we can preserve human life and then obviously move to greener and better initiatives. But we shouldn't do it where it's detrimental to the people that are living. We are robbing our grandchildren of having an existence, a free existence. We are handing over our rights, our privileges, or so-called privileges, our God-given rights, I'd say. I'm not even religious, but I think they're inherent human rights, like freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to be able to cook and feed yourself and defend yourself. And we've given them all away here in Australia. We do not have any rights left. We are slowly losing everything. The government's trying to ban freedom of speech on the internet. They're trying to shut down anyone who disagrees with them. They are banning people from cooking, growing food at home. They are banning people from doing anything with their own land over in Western Australia. You have to go and get a permit to dig a hole now. They've banned people even using chainsaws in Victoria. You can't clear a fire trail, even if you're with the Rural Fire Service, in Victoria with a chainsaw. You're not allowed to do that anymore because of this zero emissions bullshit that they keep pushing. This agenda has got nothing to do with stopping greenhouse gases, because if it did, we wouldn't be doing it here at home. We'd be trying to implement that kind of thing in China. If we're going to stop greenhouse gas emissions. The thing we need to do is enhance our technology in that sector. We need to make better batteries so we can keep the charge that we make during the day here in Australia from solar panels. We need to be able to capture CO2 from the atmosphere and turn it into things like graphene, and we need to be able to move our technology along, making the world a better place. And that's how we have done everything. From we're not using steam engines anymore. We're now using electrical turbines. Our progression down the industrial line of technology gets cleaner and cleaner as we go along. If they truly wanted to stop greenhouse gas emissions, they would stop the ban on nuclear power we have here in Australia. We're not allowed to build a nuclear power plant here in Australia by law. If they really want to stop the damage to the environment, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be building new nuclear power stations. But they will not do that, because that is not where their hip pocket gets filled with cash. That's not where they can make money off. They're making money off selling our products to China, who uses them and then produces greenhouse gas emissions with our gas and not letting us use it here at home. The Victorian government estimates the change will save residents up to $1,000 on their annual energy bills. D'Ambrosio said the government modelling used to calculate that figures was supported by a recent Grattan Institute report. Wood, who authorised the report, said they expected Victorians to save money, but she said it would remain seen if the government's $1,000 claim stacked up. It depends on what your appliances are, what your choices you are facing, she said, but there's no question consumers are going to save money. It's probably only now a matter of how much. Bullshit. If they're going to say that you're going to save $1,000, they're going to have to drop power prices. But if everyone in Victoria just jumped onto the grid with no more gas products, no more gas appliances, and they just use induction cooking, the price of power would skyrocket overnight. And that's where they're lying. They're saying that you're going to save money. First of all, you're going to have to pull out the gas system from your home, buy a new induction cooker or a new hot water system and that. So that's going to cost you a lot of money right there. And they're not cheap. Power prices have never been higher than they are now. And we are apparently going to save money by not using gas? Bullshit. He also pointed out that Victoria's electricity grid was still largely dominated by coal. So it means if you switch from gas to electricity today, on the medium term, you're not going to improve Victoria's emissions. But in the next few years, you will. Under Victoria's plan, new government buildings such as hospitals, schools and police stations will only be powered by electricity. Well, the announcement comes a day after the state government tabled its overdue response to renewable energy inquiry held during the last term of Parliament. The inquiry, which handed down its own recommendations on May 2022, suggested the government consider enacting a moratorium on new residential gas connections. In its reply, which was due in September last year, the government said it supported the recommendation in principle. The gas sector contributes to 17% of Victoria's emissions, and the Energy Minister said gas burns from new homes was a key part of the government plan to reduce Victoria's emissions by 75 to 80% by 2035 and reach net zero by 2045. That's not going to happen. Net zero. You are not going to have net zero. You can still have... People can't just go and throw out their petrol or diesel cars. You do not have enough infrastructure in the country to charge electric cars. Electric cars cause emissions. How do you think they're built? Do you just think they're built by like a fairy clicking their heels together? This is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, and gas will still be a feature of residential living for a number of years to come, D'Ambrosio said. The government will spend $10 million in new residential electrification grant program for volume builders, developers and others to provide rebates for solar panels, solar hot water and heat pumps to new home buyers. Another $1 million will be spent on training program to help the construction industry adapt to new renewable energy requirements in homes. The planning minister said that the gas-connected home was knocked down and rebuilt. The new home could not stay connected to gas if planning permit was required for the rebuild. Deputy Leader of the Greens, Victoria, Alan Sandel, said the party had been calling for a ban on new gas connections for years, but it is strange that the Labor acknowledges gas is an expensive polluting fossil fuel on the one hand, while on the other hand it's changing the law to make it easier to open new mines and is approving new gas drilling across the state, including near the 12 Apostles, she said. So they're not letting us use our own natural resources here in this country, and they're selling them off to China because Daniel Andrews loves China. He's buddy with Xi Jinping. Winnie the Pooh, He's basically a blue-collared communist here in Australia. Master Builders Victoria Chief Executive Michelle Lehau supported the decision to move away from gas, creating a pathway to a cleaner and more sustainable future is a big part of our vision for Victoria building construction industry, Lehau said. The Property Council's National Policy Director Frankie Muscovic said that the announcement provided certainty. Every new building was built with gas will need to be retrofitted in the future, so we welcome this move forward from Victorian Government to avoid investment in the new gas network infrastructure and focus on reducing energy bills and providing cleaner, healthier homes for Victorians, she said. If you want to lower energy bills, if you want to reduce costs of energy here in Australia, stop selling all of our natural resources overseas and then buying them back at a massively inflated rate. The Shadow Treasurer Brad Roswell described Friday's announcement as desperate policy on the run. We do not need an orderly energy transition from our current circumstance to the ways of the future. He said, "I don't think that is a decision today will lead to a natural lower energy prices. I think this is a furphy of the minister, and I think the Victorians are not mugs. They will recognise that as well." No, Victorians are mugs. If you live in Victoria and you've been voting for Daniel Andrews for the last how many years now, even after all the draconian things he did during COVID, you deserve what you get. The Australian Petroleum Production and Exploration Society Association, which represents oil and gas industry, said the state government was removing consumer choice for the climate benefit. The best way to avoid shortfalls and put downward pressure on prices is to bring new gas supply close to where it is used, because the cheapest gas is the gas closest to the customer, Chief Executive Samantha McCulloch said. Completely true. If you're using your own gas and buying it off of the Australian company, that money stays here in Australia. But if we sell our gas to China and then buy it back off them for more than we sold it to them, which is, I don't know why we're doing that, none of the money stays here. All the money goes over there and we're paying more out of pocket, and power prices increase. It's not hard to understand. We need to ensure policy is based on robust evidence-based analysis that recognises the importance of gas and supporting the transition of our energy system to net zero. Victoria will release an updated gas substitution roadmap later this year. If Victoria couldn't get any worse, it already has. It's too late. They need to be, I kept saying it, they need to be sawn off, pushed out into the sea, and let Tasmania and let them guys deal with it. If you are in Victoria and you're wondering how you're going to pay for a power bill in the next 12 to 18 months, I'm not surprised. You guys voted for it. You guys are getting what you want. You keep putting Greens policies ahead of common sense. I don't get it. But this is just another way for the government to control what you do and how you do it. If they can turn off your power, they control it. Get off the grid, move out of the cities, build your own farm homestead thing. They'll probably call you a doomsday prepper or a wacky nut conspiracy theorist or something like that. Go and get on, if they really want to help, go and get on solar panels. Get off the grid, get your own battery backup, so the government cannot control what you do because of climate change, because someone else in a different country makes up rules that we have to follow. We're going to have a look at this story. I apologise outright, but we're going to have to do it. We're going to have a look. Man spends $22,000 to become a dog. This is where society's come to. This is the slippery slope we were talking about 10 years ago. This is where we've got to. I don't know. I did a story a couple of weeks ago about possibly hunting furries. I think dog-human hybrids, something like that. We're going to have to start loading up and grabbing a bunch of ammo. I don't know about you, but this is pretty freaky. I can't imagine this being a normal thing for anyone, but this has to be a kink for this dude. It has to be. But we'll get into this story here from news.com.au. Man spends $22,000 to become a rough collie dog. A Japanese man who spent more than $20,000 to become a dog has taken his first walk and made some canine friends. A Japanese man who spent more than $20,000 to become a dog has finally taken his first walk and immediately made some canine friends. Known only as Toko, the man spent 2 million yen on a hyper-realistic rough collie costume to fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming an animal. In recent updates shared with his almost 30,000 YouTube subscribers, Toko was seen playing in his backyard on all fours and performing tricks in exchange for treats. I gotta go find this guy's YouTube. Oh no. Oh shit. Here it is. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna pause that. I don't know whether it's copyrighted or not. Oh my god, he's crate trained. This is horrifying. Holy shit. If my dog saw this, if my dog just saw this thing sitting in the park, she would fucking flip. She'd maul him to death. I'm sorry, but he'd be dead. What the hell is wrong with society? I know he's Japanese, but that's too much. We'll go back to the story. But now he has ventured into public for the first time to reveal his new look. In a pair of surreal videos posted on YouTube channel I Want to Be an Animal, Toko was seen being taken out for a walk on a leash, sniffing other dogs in the park and rolling around on the floor. Toko's grand debut, which was captured while he was filming a segment for a German TV station. The Japanese and the Germans have got together again, and they decided to come out with some sort of dog-human hybrid thing. Toko's grand debut, which was captured while he was filming a segment for German TV, seemed to be well received by passers-by and other dogs, who appeared curious. It wasn't clear whether they realised Toko was a natural-born... I'm sure they knew it was not a real dog. I became a collie, fulfilling a dream that I'd had since I was a little child, to be an animal. Subtitles at the beginning of the video read, "This is haunting." These dogs are like, what the fuck? Why do you... I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Dog Soldiers? That's a fantastic movie. If you want to go watch a good scary movie, Werewolves versus SAS, English SAS, I think it is. Fantastic movie. Good graphics all around. Great storyline. Kind of terrifying a little bit, but he kind of looks like a nicer version of one of them. In an introduction to his YouTube channel, Toko explained via a series of written notes translated from Japanese he doesn't speak in his videos since he wants to be a dog. Nice to meet you. I became a rough collie because I wanted to be an animal. Please let me know your request for the video you'd like to see me in the comments. I'm going to put bets on that he's going to open up an OnlyFans within a month. Maybe 2 months. He's going to open up an OnlyFans. If he hasn't already. I've already done a story on a girl who was kicked off OnlyFans for having said relationships with dogs on her OnlyFans. We'll just leave it at that. You can go and check that out. I'll put a link to up here. Toko says he hides his human identity because he doesn't want to be judged by people he knows. I'm sure. I want my hobbies to be known, especially to the people I work with, he told the Daily Mail last year. Why? Do you think that they might freak out and fire you or something? Do you want to bet he works as like a dog groomer or something weird like that, or a vet, maybe? I think that it's weird that I want to be they think that it's weird that I want to be a dog, yes, for the same reason why I can't show my real face. I rarely tell my friends because I'm afraid what they'll think I am weird, he said in a separate interview with The Mirror. My friends and family seem very surprised to learn that I've become an animal. I'm sure they were. Look at it, it's terrifying. If I saw that in the woods, I'd shoot it. It's huge, but like that's a big dog if that was a dog. But my dear God. Oh my God. I can't imagine what the other dogs think. In this clip, it was first outdoor. Maybe it's like when we see, it's going to be like when we see aliens for the first time, if they're kind of like humanoid looking. And we're just going to have that like eerie, spine tingling chill run up our spine. that we know it's not natural. It's like a primordial thing that we've grown in our genetics to know that something's not quite human. Maybe dogs have the same thing. I don't know. In a clip of his first outdoor walk, which took place in September in his backyard rather than in public, Toko said he felt nervous and a little scared. "I'm very nervous," he said in the video. "Do you remember your dreams from when you were little? You want to be a hero or a wizard? I remember writing in my grade school graduation book that I wanted to be a dog and walk outside." Japanese company GETTR, which makes costumes for TV commercials and films, spent 40 days making Toko's $22,000 outfit. A spokesperson for the company said, modelled after a collie dog, it reproduces the appearance of a real dog walking on 4 legs. Yeah, they did a pretty good job, but it's very, very freaky looking. That's kind of scary. Have a look at his have a look here on Twitter. I won't have the sound on. Oh. You can't tell me if you didn't see that, if you saw that and you didn't like freak out. My dog would tear that thing to shreds in a heartbeat. That is friggin' terrifying, man. Now the tweets. This is going to be the best one. I heard this on Pop Culture Crisis today. I was listening to an episode there. The guys from PragerU were on there, and yeah, they made that joke. It was fantastic. That motherfucker is not real.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
Oh my god, that was a terrifying cartoon. You remember the Animorphs? If you're Australian, you'll remember the Animorphs. That was terrifying. That giant, like, alien creature thing, that scared the shit out of me as a kid. Oh. Simpsons predicted it once again. Oh my god. I'm never going to be able to look at Lassie the same way. It scared the shit out of me. I thought it was him. Anyway, that was disturbing. I don't know what was more disturbing. This guy's YouTube channel, I mean, like, what the hell? He's crate trained. If you're looking for it, it's called I Want to Be an Animal. He's got nearly 40,000 subscribers and only 40 videos. That's fucked up. Oh my god. You know this has got to be sexual. You know there's someone out there getting red rocketed by this dude in costume. And if he hasn't done it yet, it's probably that German bitch. I mean, if he hasn't done it yet, he's definitely going to start an OnlyFans or something. And maybe we need to like pray for a comet to come and hit us. I don't know. Like we've gone too far. We need to like roll back a little bit. I mean, if this started with letting people pick their own pronouns or gay people get married, I don't know where it started, but we need to like go back there in a time machine and stop whoever fucking started this shit. This has gone too far. This is happening in the real world, but this has been happening in the online world and VR world for a while now. And I think with AI and VR going off and things like Meta getting ever more prevalent and Gen Z using those platforms and that so much and kind of pretending that they're all these sorts of pronoun things, like kids identifying as animals anyway, this is probably going to become more commonplace. I want to make sure that this guy is on Peter's radar anyway, to make sure he's not harming any animals. Because if he wants to be a dog this bad where he's going to spend 30 grand to do that, 20 grand to do that, whatever, I'm sure there's some sexual things tied into that. I mean, you don't just go and buy a costume for 20 grand like that unless there's some sort of kink thing for it, or you've definitely got something wrong with you. It's not like he's just cosplaying for the weekend. This dude's got something going on. This is above those dudes who wear those like leather dog gimp outfits, or what are those horseplay people that dress up and run around the park in leather horse leather gear. Vice has got a couple of stories on that, because that's kind of right up Vice's alley. Before they went bankrupt and burnt to the ground. But, you know, this is where we are in 2023, and it's only July. To be fair, it's the end of July. But, yeah, it's going to get interesting from here on out. I don't know. I think we need to buy more ammo. I think we need to start talking about this more publicly and condemn it where it should be condemned. Like things like this, I think, have kind of crossed the line. And this guy needs some severe mental guidance, maybe a psychiatrist or a friend. He could just need a friend to talk to. I mean, he could just be, I think Japanese men are really repressed, like sexually and physically. I mean, there's not really a macho man atmosphere for Japan anymore, or men in general. But at least he's top dog in his house, I suppose. I mean, wouldn't it suck if you come home and like you're the beta dog? Like you've got a Shih Tzu or something at home and it just beats the shit out of you and you're not even like top dog in your own house. That'd really suck. But I don't know about you, but I'm hoping this ends the same way that, I don't know, Lassie. What happened to Lassie? Maybe that'll happen here. I don't know, this is kind of terrifying. I don't know what to think about it. I know that if you're religious, you need to repent because the end must be coming soon. Ragnarok, bring on the apocalypse or rapture or something. I don't know, because if the rapture happens, I know I'll be left standing here, and at least I'm going to have some fun hunting things like this, because the monsters of the children's books and the monsters of scripture and things like that, they're walking around apparently, and they're real. Like that big-titted blonde woman on that plane said, that motherfucker is not real. Maybe this is what she saw. He was posing as a service dog, something like that up the back, and she was just a bit of a Karen. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's just Lassie. Oh my God. Can you imagine this thing walking down the street next to you? Like, I'd kick it. I'd run up and kick it. Like, I wouldn't be able to help myself. I remember we had, who's the mascot? One of our classmates dressed up as that slip, slop, slap pelican thing for the sunscreen ads at school one day, and we could not do anything but like pull on its friggin' costume and kick it and throw things at it. We got kicked out of Movie World down on the Gold Coast when I went down there because we sexually harassed Scooby-Doo. I mean, a friend of ours grabbed Scooby-Doo on the ass, and like he had a big fluffy ass, and Scooby-Doo's turned around and the whole mystery gang turned around in character and it's like, "Row!" And then like Velma, Fred, and Daphne all proceeded to scold us, like, "You wouldn't like if Scooby-Doo touched you there." And Fred's like, "Yeah." Like, and they stayed in character the whole time, which was terrifying. But like Velma, god damn. Back in the day, the Movie World, oh my God, was that 10 years ago? Longer now, Jesus. Velma was banging. Yeah, Scooby-Doo does not like being grabbed on the rear end, and apparently, I wouldn't be surprised if this fella does. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in another episode. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.